Welcome to the Gene Keys Golden Path Spheres series. Today we are talking about the brand. And this is actually episode 12 of this series. So I've got a video on each and every sphere of the golden path: life's work, evolution, radiance, purpose, attraction, IQ, EQ, SQ, core, vocation, culture. And here we are at the brand. My name is Jay Cohen. I am a Gene Keys guide, a studier of the esoteric, help people implement this stuff in their lives, in their businesses, in a way that leads to a prosperous life. And that ultimately is what the brand is all about. The brand is actually the second time we revisit this gene key, this energy, this archetypal energy. So if you're unaware, the gene keys are 64 different archetypes. However, each of these different archetypes takes on a slightly different meaning depending on which sphere it is held within. And each sphere essentially acts as a placeholder for a specific part of our lives. And the first time that we see this archetypal energy is in what we call the sphere of the life's work, which is in the exact same place. If you look at your profile, it's the same gene key, it's the same line, nothing changes except you. And that is what these placeholders do. As another example, like your sphere of your IQ is a mental pattern. Your sphere of your EQ is an emotional pattern. And the same gene key in those two spheres will present very differently, right? Because our analytical left brain is going to throw up an energy of doubt or the gift of inquiry very differently than our heart doubts. And so the responses to our world are going to be completely different. And so our life's work, when we start this work in the gene keys, each sphere we look at as individual to us. And this is why people get obsessed with the profile. They think it is about, and it is in the beginning, about their personal development, their spiritual growth, opening their heart. However, when you do this work more and more and more, what you realize is that in reality, all of this points to the collective. We start to understand that as we awaken, our individual identity begins to merge with this much bigger consciousness. And it is through that merging, through the letting go of our individual identity and instead holding ourselves to bringing about the miraculous present moment. Holding ourselves beholden to the moment instead of to our personality. That's the shift that starts to happen here. And when that shift happens, that is when we go from our life's work, which is about us, what am I here to do, to the brand, which is simply what does my voice, that's a big part of the brand, is your voice, it's your frequency. How does my voice contribute to the collective? How does my being help awaken other people, or help spread love, or help spread wisdom, or help spread harmony? Pick a city. But we lose this quality of it's all about me, I need to figure it out, what am I supposed to do so that people can hear me? Although that's on the one hand. On the other, because all things in spirituality are paradox, this gene key, whatever you have here, does indeed tell you how you can vibrate your voice, how you can vibrate your frequency in such a way that helps other people to feel connected to you. So it's really important here. There is something that I see time and again in my work with people as they are ready to step into the pearl work. And the pearl work typically comes third in the journey. So we've got the activation sequence work, and that's all about relationship to God. And then we've got the Venus work, which is all about opening the heart. And then we've got the Pearl work, which is all about bringing that open heart out into the world, out into the marketplace, to develop a sense of prosperity. And the thing that I consistently see when people do the Pearl sequence before they've done this other work is a focus on needing to express themselves without thinking through how they are going to be received. So there's another sphere just below the brand that is called the culture. And these two are actually connected with the pathway of growth. And the culture is how you are received, how your message is received. And so the brand is all about finding the voice in such a way that the culture can actually hear you, so that what you are saying can have an impact. And it comes about from being an empty vessel. So I really like the analogy of the Fool card out of the tarot for this, because the Fool card is actually in the tarot 2 different times. It's the first card and it's the last card. And if you didn't know, this is where jokers come from, a card deck. However, the Fool, the first Fool, is a naive fool. It's somebody that is just being born into the world. And that is the life's work, right? That is where we start. And then we circle back around and there's this new Fool, and it comes about from wisdom. It comes about from kenosis, this emptying of ourselves so that we can be filled by the light of God, filled by the divine. And it is through us just being a flute so that divine air can play through us. That is how we land in our brand. It's not about seeking out what you need to do. It's emptying out so that God can vibrate through you. And when you allow God to vibrate through you, you'll no longer be putting out this frequency of fear. And this frequency of fear is something that people can see through. They can cut through it like a hot knife through butter. Why did I just say that? You get the point, okay? People can see whether you are embodied in your beliefs or you are not embodied in your beliefs. Like, are you just parroting what somebody else is saying? Or are you sharing a message that is coming from deep down in your soul? And when we step into our brand, that's what we are doing. It's this deep alignment to the natural current of our life. And it comes out of growth, and then it is sealed, this pathway on the other side. There's another sphere over here called your vocation. And this is the pathway of service. So you've got the pathway of growth. This is like the world's worst whiteboard activity. It's okay. Okay, so we've got vocation here. This is one sphere. This is the Pearl sequence. We got culture here. We got brand here. There's this pathway. The Pearl is here in the middle. Okay, and then this is the pathway of growth. And this is the pathway of service. This pathway of initiative. I'm telling you this because brand, this is a triangle, right? And it can go either way. We can go, typically the way that this works, because it comes from the Venus work, is we start at vocation, we take initiative, that gets our culture to form around us, we grow into our brand, and then we find our voice, we find our resonance, we seal this triangle by showing up in service to the whole. However, because this is a triangle, the geometry makes it such that you can approach it from any of the spheres. So we can also think about this as connecting to our vocation, connecting to our virtue, to our inner drive. And then from that place, being of service. And it's the being of service that helps us to discover our brand. In other words, you cannot predict this. You have to do in order to find your brand. And the doing is in the present moment. So it's not a plan. It's not trying to force things. It's not figuring things out. It is being present to what emerges and then following that frequency. And you'll know when you are on brand because everything will start to hum around you. People are going to start to say things to you. They're going to start to feel the impact. You're going to start to see all these different aspects come together. So your brand is your clothing. It's your media that you put out to the world. It's the way that you talk. It's the way that you walk. It's the way that you carry yourself, your posture. It's literally everything that somebody else can observe about you. It's not just this message. It's not just pertain to business. And the way that your brand comes across is actually through your aura. So you unlock people that show up in your world by design. These people come through divine providence. You guys are brought together. And according to this big giant plan, there's a lock and a key. And when you are on brand, your key can unlock somebody else. But it isn't through anything that you say or anything that you do. It is through your aura. However, it is through your doing that you purify your aura and that you fall into your brand. It naturally is something that is going to emerge. And when it does, you will have no doubt about it. Because growth is the sign. Your life is going to start to hum as all of these different aspects come together. If you want some help discovering your brand and bringing it out to the world, I've got a group called the Synarchy, which is a bunch of people doing work in the Gene Keys world, launching businesses, taking leaps, claiming the life that God has for them. I'll put it in the description down below so that you can pop in there. Also, I do this work deeply with people, and I'll put a link there too. Thanks for being here today. Until next time.